Kryptonians, welcome to my weekly series on Titans. I did announce this on social media last week, but just in case you don't follow me on social media, I announced last week that I'm going to be taking some time out every week or every weekend to review Titans, every episode of Titans all the way to the season finale. Full recap and review of everything I liked or didn't like and my general thoughts on each episode for the rest of the season. That is a spoiler warning just in case you have not seen the new episode for DC's Titans on the DC Universe streaming app. You might want to go check that out because I am going to be recapping some things here and I will get into spoiler territory. This episode pretty much picks up like right after the end of the last episode, and if you didn't see the end of the last episode, Dick Grayson, Hawk, Dove, and Raven were on a rooftop having it out, hashing out their differences, or, you know, basically yelling at Dick because Dick was being a dick and he basically tried to dump Raven off on Hawk and Dove. Next thing you know, this mysterious family shows up out of nowhere on steroids or some other shit, and if you know the comics, you know that they're probably the nuclear family from the comics. Either way, they beat everybody's ass, they knock out Hawk, they knock out Dick Grayson, they knock Dove off the freaking roof, and now you find out in this episode she's in a coma, and they take Raven away because they want Raven for some mysterious reason. And by the way, I always toggle between calling her Raven or calling her Rachel as she is on the show. So I don't know, I'm going to play it by ear, but most time, because I'm used to calling her Raven, I'm probably just going to stick with calling her Raven. At the beginning of this episode, you see that Starfire, who we last saw in the pilot episode for the series, she has tracked everybody down to this building, and she sees basically the whole thing, and she's sitting in a car outside the building, and she sees Raven get abducted by this family. If you remember back in the pilot when she was trying to track down those mob bosses and trying to figure out where her memory went and what exactly happened, there was a picture at the end, and it was of Raven, and she's like, okay, well, this girl obviously is very important to me, I have to find her. The thought process is if she finds Raven, then she'll find out a reason as to why she's lost her memory and what happened to her leading up to her obsession with hunting for Raven. This is the part of the episode where some of the writing does start to leave a little bit of a gap in the narrative because, okay, she was in Vienna, Austria, she was looking for Raven. You get the sense that, okay, she tracked Raven to the States, she found out where she lived in Detroit. I guess she wasn't in Detroit, she was in some other area of Michigan, but then she happened to come to Detroit because of what happened to her mom. My question is, how the hell did Starfire figure out where exactly she was when she was with Hawk and Dove and Dick Grayson on that rooftop? Did she know that she was going to be there? Did she somehow find out about Hawk and Dove too? And did she know anything about their role in all of this? Did she know that that family was going to show up and that they were going to take Rachel and that she would be able to follow them to a gas station somewhere out of state? I don't know. The show doesn't really answer this question. It's just one of those little things. It's a nitpick. It's not that big a deal, but it is something where I'm sitting there thinking about it and I'm like, well, she just kind of shows up because she does track that family to a gas station. Raven uses the bathroom. Starfire shows up. She's like, okay, dude, give me the kid. I'm walking out of here. The dude, of course, is like, who the fuck are you? No, I'm not giving up the chick. And then Starfire is full savage mode in this series, as you've seen by now. She burns him alive and she walks off the lot with the kid. Say what you want to about Starfire, bad memory and all or whatever. She is a total badass so far in this series. Maybe it's the memory loss, or maybe it's just because they just wanted this to be a more brutal version of Starfire. I don't know. All I know is that this chick has zero fucks to give. And if you are in her way or you're trying to stop her from getting to her mission or her objective, she's going to take you down by any means necessary. And most of the time, that means she's going to burn the flesh off your skin. So she takes Raven and she drives away with her and she's trying to figure out if Raven knew her or if she knew Raven, and she's trying to jog her memory somehow. Before all this, they did show her going to Raven's house and getting some evidence and getting some clues. There was a picture that said St. Paul's on the back, so she figures, hey, maybe we'll go to St. Paul's and we'll both get our memories jogged. While all this is happening, Dick Grayson is also trying to track down Rachel. He's trying to figure out everything. Because of his contacts in the Detroit Police Department, he finds out that Starfire is also on the track or on the trail of trying to find Raven. This is an episode that focuses almost exclusively on Dick Grayson, Starfire, and Rachel. And you get to see them from different perspectives. I think the reason why the episode is called Origins is because Starfire and Rachel aren't really clear on their origins yet. They're still trying to find themselves. They're still trying to search for where they came from and, you know, where they're going, basically. But Dick Grayson already knows where he's going, essentially. He's still kind of stuck in like a midlife crisis type of thing where he's trying not to be Batman, but he's also trying to find himself as a person, because without Batman, he doesn't know if he has that anymore. This episode also took its time to try to flesh out Dick Grayson's origin, just in case, you know, you didn't know his origin. They touched on it in the previous episodes, but this one they actually do flashbacks and they go back and they show you exactly what Dick Grayson was right after the accident that took away his parents. They show him being adopted by Bruce Wayne and taken into the Wayne Manor. They show that his first instinct was to run away. He steals Bruce's car and he drives it around. He's talking to the social worker later on in the episode. He's just kind of like, no, I wanted to go out and find the people who killed my parents because I want to kill them. The entire time that this is happening, you don't actually see Bruce Wayne other than if it's like a blurry silhouette in the background, or maybe they'll show him, but they'll show him from the back, like they'll show the back of his head and him in a suit, but they won't actually show his face. This is one of those things I'm a little bit curious about. Are they going to go the Supergirl route? Are they just going to not talk about Bruce Wayne and Alfred? I mean, we've heard Alfred's voice over the phone. We heard Bruce Wayne and Alfred having like a muffled conversation out in the distance when Dick Grayson was in the manor when he first got there. They're just going to do the Supergirl thing where they kind of tiptoe around Bruce Wayne and they don't actually show him or Alfred. Are they just going to reference him? Are we not going to see him at all? I get it, guys. The show is called Titans, and I understand that. It's not about Bruce Wayne. It's not about Alfred. The show is also not about Hawk and Dove. They showed up. The show is also not about Doom Patrol, but they show up next week. I'm just saying, would it really kill them to actually show Bruce Wayne or have him have an actual conversation with Dick Grayson? Are they not allowed to do that for some reason? I don't know, but I'm just calling it the Supergirl thing because in Supergirl Season 1, this is exactly how they dealt with Superman. They just kind of referenced him and talked about him. You never actually saw him, and then when they did show him, it was like CGI from a distance, or they showed him laying down and they showed only his boots and cape. That's going to be a thing that probably irritates me for most of the season if they do that, but whatever. For this episode, I guess it works. Only other issue I do have with the Dick Grayson flashbacks is that there is one moment where Dick Grayson, when he first gets to the Wayne Manor and then he decides to jump out of the window and escape, one shot where he's swinging from the tree branches that looked really bad, like from a CGI perspective. Through the first 3 episodes, I actually think the CGI and special effects have looked pretty decent overall. This was the first shot in any of the 3 episodes where I was just kind of like, wow, that did not look convincing at all. Starfire and Raven are on the road. They're on this road trip. They're building some camaraderie. There's a really cliched scene in a bar where there's some drunk idiot and his friends causing trouble. Starfire, of course, kicks all of their asses, and she's somehow able to get a free meal out of it. I understand why it was there. It was there to build camaraderie between Raven and Starfire. You can definitely feel like there's some kind of bond developing, even if you feel like Starfire is really only using her because she wants to figure out more about her past. She also feels some kind of connection to her, like, okay, I have to watch her. It's important that I have her back. Long story short, they all end up at this church, the St. Paul's Monastery or whatever the hell it is, and they meet the nuns that I guess watched out for Raven when she was a kid. It doesn't really jog any memories, but because of some of the clues Starfire has picked up along the way, she's able to find this storage thing. She steals Dick Grayson's car to do it. Finds this storage place where apparently she's been gathering intel on Raven for quite some time. In fact, you get the sense from looking at all that information, she's been looking for Rachel for years, like multiple years. Begs the question, why has this girl been on her radar for so long, and what does this have to do with the people that are now after Raven? You get a little bit more insight in this episode into the people that are after Raven. You know it has something to do with Trigon. They keep mentioning her father. They keep mentioning somebody coming, and they need a gateway or some way to get here. They need somebody to let him in. You already know where this shit is going in terms of Trigon, and I can't wait to see if they're going to introduce that this season or if they're going to save that for season 2, but either way, the teases are there. I do like the parallels between Raven's story and between Dick Grayson's story because, again, Raven felt very hurt because she trusted Dick Grayson and Dick Grayson let her down. She's scared, you know, she's just a 14-year-old kid and she has these weird, scary inner demons and these powers that she doesn't understand. And everybody that she meets has some kind of agenda. Everybody that she's met for the first 3 episodes has either ditched her, or they've tried to use her, or they've tried to take her, or they've tried to do something to her that's not something you would want to be done to a 14-year-old kid. Being that Dick Grayson used to be a kid who lost his parents and then he had to be taken in by this rich guy named Bruce Wayne, you figure he would understand about a kid being lost and not knowing where to go. So I really like the conversation that they had towards the end of the episode where she's just like, yeah, I'm always scared. And Dick Grayson's like, yeah, well, this is not going to get easier, okay? The loss and the pain and all the stuff that you feel, it's not going to get easier. You're the only one that's going to be able to handle this. I feel like this is the most tortured and haunted version of Dick Grayson that we've seen in live action. This dude has a lot of inner issues. He has a lot of demons that he's dealing with. He has a lot of growing up to do in terms of leadership and maturity. But you feel like over the course of the season, he's probably going to get there. And the same thing goes for these other characters. These characters are not the fully realized versions of the characters that we know and love yet. They're developing. They're building. You got to give them some time. Kind of a really awkward moment where they're at this arcade. Starfire is looking for clues and Raven's eating, and then she's playing a game, and who does she bump into? She bumps into Beast Boy. This is really the only time in the entire episode that we see Beast Boy, but it's kind of a fun, awkward teenage meeting between them where they're kind of talking over each other, doing that weird flirting thing where they clearly both don't know how to flirt yet. It's kind of a weird thing because the actor that plays Beast Boy is 21, the actress who plays Raven is 14, but in the show, Beast Boy is 15, so I guess they could get away with it. I don't know, it's still a little bit weird. Still disappointed that we haven't gotten a lot of Beast Boy so far this season, but it looks like next week's episode is definitely going to fix that. Doom Patrol and Beast Boy look like they're going to be featured heavily on next week's episode, so I'm very excited to see that. Guys, I think this was a good episode. I don't think it was quite as strong as the first 2 episodes. I feel like it kind of leveled out. There are some issues with it that took my enjoyment away from it. But overall, the show is still keeping me intrigued and still keeping me interested, and I can't wait to see next week. So, Tell me in the comment section, what did you like about this episode? What didn't you like about this episode? And what are you looking forward to seeing next week when Doom Patrol makes its way onto the DC Universe? Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show. And as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.